Have you ever felt like you and cannabis are a little too close? Like maybe it's time for a reset? What if you could start 2026 with a clear head, a renewed sense of self, and a community of people who get it? This January, you can. Welcome to the Bite Me Cannabis Club's January Fresh Start Challenge. This isn't just another tolerance break. This is a 31-day guided journey to rediscover your relationship with cannabis. We're talking a full month to let your receptors reset, your mind clear, and your intentions for the new year take root. And the best part, you won't be doing it alone. Imagine waking up with more energy, feeling more present in your daily life, saving money, and sharing those wins with a supportive community that's right there with you every step of the way. The structured program gives you daily prompts, weekly themes, resources from cannabis wellness experts, and a supportive online group to connect, share, and stay motivated. This is more than just taking a break. It's about a fresh start, together. Ready to prove to yourself you can do it? Ready to see what a month of clarity feels like? Don't go it alone. Join a group that has your back. The January Fresh Start Challenge is your chance to start the year with intention and come out stronger on the other side. The wait list is now open. Head over to joinbitemE.com/challenge to reserve your spot. That's joinbitemE.com/challenge. January is coming. Let's do this together. What happens when you take a love of food, a passion for culture, and a deep knowledge of cannabis and you toss them all into one bowl? You get Bite Me, the podcast that explores the intersection of food, culture, and cannabis and helps cooks make great edibles at home. I'm your host, Margaret, a certified ganjier, TCI certified cannabis educator, and I believe your kitchen is the best dispensary you'll ever have. Together, we'll explore the stories, the science, and the sheer joy of making safe, effective, and unforgettable edibles at home. So preheat your oven and get ready for a great episode. Let's dive in. Welcome back, friends. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're just tuning in for the first time, this is going to be a really good one. It's an important one, a little bit of education for us all today as we make our onward march towards the holidays, if you're listening to this at the time in which it was recorded/released. And if you've been listening for a little while, thank you for being here. It wouldn't be without you that I would be still doing this 6.5 years later. It's hard to believe sometimes. I often like to think that this podcast has also been ad-free since 2019. Well, relatively ad-free. I know I've done a few over the years, and I do tend to advertise my own things on here, which I hope y'all don't mind. But these little things are important to me, and that is why I appreciate you all. We're going to be talking today about tolerance breaks in your brain on edibles. We've talked about how to dose properly on this show. We've demystified onset times. We've talked about the science of edibles generally and how they work in your body. There's all kinds of science things or science topics that we've covered on this show. It's just something that I would like to continue on into the new year. So if any of you have any particular contacts with scientists, people who do research around cannabis, let me know. I do know that the episode I did recently with Dr. Casara Andre, the vet, was really popular, and a lot of you really enjoyed that one. And I have to admit, I'm pretty proud of that, how that episode turned out. I feel like I learned a lot as well. And even though I don't have pets, I feel like almost everybody in my life has pets that is close to me. So I'm around them all the time, and I want to see them be happy and healthy as well. Fun fact, one of the reasons I don't have pets, besides the fact that I don't really want to look after one at this particular period of my life, is that I am so lucky to be allergic to them. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with my sarcasm, there you just had a beautiful example of said sarcasm. It really does actually, it is disappointing sometimes because, it's not fun to be allergic to your favorite four-legged friends. We've talked about a lot of things on the show, like I said, but today we're going to be diving into the most complex machine known to humanity. And maybe that's up for a little bit of debate, but that is your brain. What is actually happening in your head when you eat a cannabis-infused brownie or gummy? It's not just a vague feeling, it's a precise and fascinating cascade of neurochemical events. In this episode, we're putting your brain under the microscope, and we'll explore how the cannabinoids in your edible hijack your brain's internal wiring, what that means for your mood, your creativity, and your perception, and most importantly, how to use this knowledge to consume cannabis wisely. And speaking of wisdom, we'll also get into the science of tolerance and why taking a break can completely reset your experience. This is a big one because, of course, as you probably know by now, this January, I am launching my first ever Fresh Start Tolerance Break Challenge. And I'm going to give you some of the details on how you can join. I do realize that there's probably an ad for that on this very episode, but I will talk about it a little bit more. I'm pretty excited about it. I've never done anything like this, and I would love to have you join me because I myself will be taking a tolerance break, and I kind of thought, why do it alone? These things can be challenging enough as they are, but sometimes it's a lot easier to get through something when you have people around you supporting you. So not only am I planning to give up cannabis, but I'm also planning to give up alcohol. Not that I drink that much, but I do tend to drink more during the holiday season, like many of you probably do. There just seems to be more opportunities for it. And I'm just at a point in my life where I would like to see what it's like again to go without. Normally, I hardly drink at all, but I think sometimes even that small amount is having an impact on my health. At the end of January, I will be returning to cannabis. It's up in the air whether I'll return to alcohol. I may give it a much longer break or maybe a forever break. So let's get comfortable and let's talk about your brain on edibles. All right, to understand what happens when cannabis enters your body, we first need to understand the system that's already there, waiting to greet it. And you're probably familiar, and if you're not, that is called the endocannabinoid system or the ECS. And as we learned in the episode with Dr. Cassara Andre, pretty much all mammals have an ECS. You have one, your dog has one, the horse you pass by on the way to work or something has one. That raccoon getting into your garbage in the back alley behind your house has one, which is kind of cool. Think of the ECS as your body's master regulator or air traffic control. Its main job is to maintain balance, a state scientists call homeostasis, and it helps regulate everything from your mood and appetite to your sleep and immune response. The system has three main players. First, you have your endocannabinoids, and these are cannabis-like molecules that your own body makes. The two most famous ones are anandamide, I never say that quite right, often called the bliss molecule, and 2-AG. And they're like your body's own homegrown stash, if you will. Second, you have receptors. And these are like locks on the surface of your cells. The endocannabinoids are the keys that fit into these locks. The two main receptors are CB1 and CB2. Now, this is the crucial part for the story. Our CB1 receptors are found all over the body, but they are incredibly concentrated in the brain. Third, you have enzymes, and these are the cleanup crew. Once an endocannabinoid has delivered its message, the enzymes swoop in and break it down so it doesn't overstay its welcome. So you have your body's own keys, the locks, and the cleanup crew all working in perfect harmony to keep you in balance. Now, enter the edible. When you consume an edible, the THC that enters your bloodstream is a master mimic. It's shaped so perfectly that it fits right into these CB1 receptor locks in your brain. But THC is different from your body's natural keys. It's more powerful, and it sticks around for a lot longer because the enzymes aren't as good as cleaning it up. It's like picking a lock with a super strong key that gets stuck. This is why the effects of cannabis are so much more pronounced than the subtle balancing act of your own endocannabinoid system. And because those CB1 receptors are everywhere in your brain, in the parts that control memory, pleasure, coordination, time, perception, THC's influence is pretty widespread. And that's why an edible can affect your memory, can make you feel euphoric, and can even make you a little bit clumsy all at the same time. So THC has crashed the party and is binding to all the CB1 receptors, but the story doesn't stop there. The initial reaction sets off a chain reaction. influencing other major chemical messengers in your brain. Let's start with the big one, dopamine. You've probably heard of dopamine as the feel-good or reward chemical. And when THC activates a CB1 receptor, it indirectly triggers a release of dopamine in the pleasure centers of your brain, like the nucleus accumbens. This is the neurochemical basis for that feeling of euphoria, the giggles, the sense of everything is just wonderful. Your brain is getting a reward signal. But here's the flip side. This dopamine pathway is also what can lead to habit formation and for some, psychological dependence. Your brain starts to associate cannabis with that reward, which is something to be mindful of. It's really not that much different than the dopamine hit we get when we hear a notification on our phone and we reach for it right away to open a funny message from a friend or something we've seen on a social media platform. But it's not just about pleasure. Cannabis's effects on mood are much more complex, and that brings us to GABA and serotonin. Let's talk about anxiety. Have you ever had an edible and felt completely relaxed? Or have you had one and felt a wave of paranoia? That's what scientists call a biphasic effect, meaning that it can have opposite effects at different doses. At low doses, THC can enhance the effects of GABA, which is your brain's primary inhibitory neurotransmitter. Think of GABA as the brake pedal that calms everything down. The more GABA means less anxiety. But at high doses, THC can sometimes disrupt the system and lead to a decrease in GABA activity in certain areas like the amygdala, your brain's fear center. The brake pedal stops working and the anxiety engine revs up. This is the science behind a cannabis-induced panic attack. And this is also why start low, go slow isn't just friendly advice. It's a neurochemical strategy to keep your brain's brake pedal engaged. For me, I find that the edible is far less likely to bring on this anxiety, or it would take much higher doses, or I've just gotten better at dosing myself. This happens to me way faster when I smoke or vaporize cannabis, which is why I have to be very mindful when I'm smoking, because it doesn't take much for me to experience that anxiety, which is kind of nice actually, because it means I save a lot of money on cannabis because I don't need much. Finally, the interaction with serotonin pathways can alter your sensory perception. This is why music might sound richer, food might taste incredible, and colors might seem more vivid. THC is subtly scrambling the signals in the part of your brain that process sensory information, making the mundane feel novel again. If you're a regular cannabis user, you've no doubt experienced this. Over time, you need more and more to feel the same effect. This isn't just in your head, it's a real physical phenomenon in your brain called tolerance. Remember all those CB1 receptors we talked about? Well, your brain is smart. If it's being constantly flooded with a powerful external key like THC, it decides the system is way too active. To restore balance, it does something remarkable. It starts pulling the locks off the doors. This process is called receptor downregulation. Your brain literally reduces the number of CB1 receptors. With fewer receptors, the THC you consume has fewer places to bind, and its effects become weaker. That's tolerance in a nutshell. You're chasing a feeling that's getting harder to catch because the goalposts are constantly moving. So how do you fix it? Well, the easiest way is to take a tolerance break, or as it's commonly referred to as a tea break in the cannabis community. A tolerance break is a period of abstinence that gives your brain time it needs to rebuild those receptors. It's like telling your brain, okay, the flood is over, you can put the locks back on the doors now. And the science shows that this works remarkably well. Studies have shown that significant receptor recovery can happen within just a few days of stopping cannabis use. For most regular users, a break of about 2 to 4 weeks can bring your CB1 receptor density back to near baseline levels. The benefits are huge. When you return to cannabis, your sensitivity is restored. The effects will feel more potent, more nuanced, and closer to what you remember from your earlier experiences. It also gives you a chance to check in with yourself and ensure that your use is intentional, not just habitual. And this brings me to something I am incredibly excited to talk about This January, I'm launching the first ever Fresh Start Tolerance Break Challenge. So many of us end the year with habits that might not be serving us as well as they used to. The Fresh Start Challenge is a communal tolerance break for the entire month of January. It's a chance to reset our systems together with support and resources along the way. And whether you want to lower your tolerance, save money, or just reassess your relationship with cannabis, this is the perfect opportunity. You can sign up at joinbiteme.com/challenge to reserve your spot. And at the end of the month, I will show you how to participate in the challenge. It's over at the Bite Me Cannabis Club, and it's free to join. There's going to be daily check-ins, weekly video check-ins, science-based tips. There's a whole get started guide that I created and resources from other cannabis wellness experts. It's not about quitting forever. It's just about hitting the reset button so you can move forward with more intention. And I really hope that you'll join me. I don't really want to do it alone, friends. So again, that's joinbiteme.com/challenge. Whether you're just coming back from a tolerance break, or just want to be a smarter consumer, you can use this brain science to your advantage. And here's a few practical tools. First, the mantra that we've all heard over and over again, but it applies every time. Whether you are dosing yourself, dosing a pet, sharing information with a friend, start low, go slow. We now know the neurochemical reason why. A low dose coaxes your GABA system into a state of calm. A high dose can overwhelm it and trigger anxiety. Respect the power of 11-hydroxy-THC and give your brain a gentle handshake, not a bone-crushing one. Second, the Know Your Neuro Profile tool. This is simple. Keep a journal. I actually happen to have one over at Amazon, the Bite Me Edibles journal, so you can log your experience, something I don't talk about enough. Whether you use my journal, a blank notebook, a note on your phone, note the dose, the product, and how you feel. Not just the high, but be specific. Do you feel creative, anxious, sleepy, giggly? This data helps you understand your personal neurochemical reaction. You'll start to see patterns that empower you to choose the right edible for the right occasion. And of course, this applies to whether you're making your own edibles, purchasing them at a dispensary, and it's also good to keep track of what you're smoking or vaping as well. Third, the scheduled break tool. Don't just wait until your tolerance is through the roof. Be proactive. Look at your calendar and schedule a tolerance break, just like you'd schedule a vacation. Maybe it's 1 week every quarter, or even just the first few days of every month. This keeps your sensitivity high and your consumption mindful. And of course, I hope you can join us for our Fresh Start Challenge in January. Finally, never underestimate set and setting. This isn't hippie talk, and I know a lot of the times this is applied when it comes to psilocybin or magic mushrooms, but it's actually a brain primer. Your mental state, which is your set, and your environment, which is your setting, prepare your brain for an experience. If you're already anxious and in a stressful place, your brain's alarm systems are already on high alert. If you're in a calm, safe space, you're giving the brain a relaxed starting line, making a positive experience far more likely. And just think about it. You could consume the same edible or smoke the same amount of cannabis as you would at home. Place yourself in a new environment like a noisy concert hall or a festival or at a party where you don't know that many people, and suddenly that same dose can feel very different. So the journey of an edible is far more than a trip to your stomach. It's a profound conversation with your brain's most ancient and important regulatory system. Understanding this science gives us the power to be smarter, safer, and more intentional consumers. The 3 things to remember are: your brain has its own cannabis system, and THC is a very powerful guest. Treat it with respect. Tolerance is a real physical process. Your brain is just trying to protect itself. You have the tools like journaling, scheduled breaks, joining the Fresh Start Challenge to keep your relationship with cannabis healthy and rewarding. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive. Again, to sign up for the Fresh Start Tolerance Break Challenge in January, head over to joinbiteme.com/challenge. And I'd love to hear from you as well. What are your tools for wise consumption? How do you schedule in tolerance breaks throughout the year? Share them with me over on social media. Send me an email, Or, of course, you can always join the club and continue the conversation over there. With that, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please consider sharing it with somebody who's as curious about cannabis as you are. Join me over at the Bite Me Cannabis Club. And until next time, my friends, I am your host, Margaret. Stay high.